Welcome to The Right Frame of Mind, a podcast that explores the mental hurdles of a writing career. I'm your host, Adrienne Giordano. In each episode, I talk with an author about a challenge they faced and the mindset shift that got them through. Let's dive into the writer's mind.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with my guest and pal, Tracey Devlyn. Tracey is a USA Today bestselling author of contemporary and historical suspense that is often layered with mystery, romance, and environmental crime. Despite the thrilling, emotional journeys she creates for her readers, Tracey lives an annoyingly normal life in the mountains of North Carolina with her husband and rescue dog. Welcome, Tracey.
Hi, Adrienne. How you doing? Thanks for having
Um,
me.
so I'm excited to have you.
Same. This is going to be fun.
It will be fun. I thought today, we would talk about, the right frame of mind. It's all about helping writers to just deal with the challenges that come with life as a writer, right? And one of the topics I have wanted to explore on the show is so many writers have a job outside of writing, right? They have their day job. And for years, you worked that full-time job while you were, under contract with a traditional publisher. You were making it work for years. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about your journey as an author and, what that was like?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations on your new show, and I'm so
Oh,
happy to be
thank
here
you.
helping you get it launched. It's so fun, and I'm so proud of you for doing this. This is
Oh,
just great. So
thank
I
you.
wanted to get that out there first.
That means a lot. That makes me, that
But as far as my journey, gosh, you were absolutely there with me from the very beginning. So you've watched me kind of go through all of those I guess different challenges and pains and even the triumphs. And I guess the best way I could say, as far as from a time management perspective, is it's pretty basic. I would get up very early, maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. And now this was,
remember the
I'll say,
vampire
yeah,
emails.
yes. Adrienne dubbed me the vampire because it seemed like no matter, I guess, when she would send me an email or text me, I would respond. And so I got dubbed the vampire. But that really was kind of the case. I had I had long days. And so I'd get up early, and pre-published was a little bit different than when I got published. And then when we went indie, it changed even again. So I'll try to engage my little pea brain here and walk back in history and see if I can recall it all. But I would get up early and work on the manuscript. Now, this was pre-published. I was very focused on the manuscript. I did not have any other things pulling at my time other than maybe a little bit of volunteer work for our local romance chapter. But other than that,
And
and then
when you say early, what time, and I mean, I know this from the vampire days, but I want the
yeah,
readers to hear it.
it was 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and
Yeah.
then I would work on it for maybe about an hour, hour and a half, and then get up and then head to work because I'd have to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, and then I would work on, and then I would go to my day job, and then I would work on it at lunchtime. I would sit in my car. It didn't matter how hot or how cold it was. I would sit in my car and I would work on it while I was eating lunch. And then I would come home, back to the day job in the afternoon. Then I would come home and I would spend time with my family and have dinner and watch a little bit of news or Wheel of Fortune whenever my mother-in-law lived with us. And then after that, maybe about, oh, I don't know, it was maybe about 8 o'clock or so. I would go back up to my office and work on it until maybe about 10:30, and then I would call it quits and go to bed. So that
Do it
was,
all over again.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was the weekdays. And then the weekends, depending on what we had going on. If we didn't have much going on, I would spend the entire weekend absent, maybe some laundry or, a little bit of,
Yeah.
things like that. But I would spend a good portion of the weekend, I'll put it that way, working on the manuscript. So that was all pre-published. And then once I got published, it all kind of changed where, I might have a little bit of marketing and things like that I was doing in the mornings, maybe instead of working on the manuscript. And then when we went indie, there's a lot of business, as you know,
Yeah,
that needs to
yeah,
take place with the indie part. And so I really, I might work on it at lunchtime, but most of the time I would work on it in the evenings. And then my evenings would be longer. I might work on it until 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'm
yeah.
not much of a night owl, despite my name, the vampire. I'm not much of a night owl. I'm more of an early morning person. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny because now I am writing full time, and I feel like I don't get any more done during the day as far as writing wise
Wow.
than I
Yeah.
did when I was working a day job, full time. It's just other things tend to fill up your day. So yeah, it's kind of weird. I think that, and it could be that my little pea brain only has 3 or 4 hours of creative time in it
Yeah,
before it
absolutely.
starts kind of shutting down, and then that's when I
Yeah.
go on to more businessy type things, or editing, or in any of those types of things, social media, what have you. Yeah.
So that's an interesting point. So when you were working full time, was there a better time that you had that kind of, the creative juices were flowing versus, other times in the day?
Yeah, mornings, that's I think that's why I started
Mornings.
getting up so early, and then I would get a break once I was at the day job for a few hours, and I think that's why I could work on it at lunchtime again with no problem, and I could be pretty productive at lunchtime. The evenings were rough. I don't know. I don't really know how many
Yeah.
words I would get done. A lot of times I would read through what I wrote that morning, and that would kickstart that new writing session, but my brain's pretty sluggish in the evening, so I don't know
Yeah.
how useful it was for me to do it. But I think more than anything, just having a routine. If I didn't
Hmm.
do those things at those times, I would get kind of itchy about it and feel like I needed to be at the desk or needed to be doing this and that. And so just having that familiar routine just kind of kept me moving, kept me going and pushing
Yeah.
forward. It wasn't a lot, but it was little by little compared to what you were doing at the same time. I mean, gosh, I was only writing one book a year, maybe 1.5 books a year, but generally just one book a year. So, I'm not a fast writer at all. So,
Yeah, yeah. And then, the fatigue, it is exhausting, right? Because
yeah.
there's so much brain power that goes into
Mhm.
it. And now you're working a day job on top of it. So were there ways you battled both the mental and the physical fatigue? What helped you to kind of push through that?
I think not thinking about it. I know that's probably not a great answer, but
Yeah.
I just kept doing it. I tried not to think about how tired I was. There would come a time when my body would say enough is enough. And,
Yeah.
this is probably not a PC term, but it's one I've used probably 30, 40 years is, I would end up taking a mental health day at some point where I
Hmm.
would just stay home from work,
Yeah. Yeah.
and my body would tell me in other ways I was getting really, really bad migraines at times too. And so that
Mm,
might have been a way that my body was telling me, okay, girl, it's time to just check out for a little while and not do
yeah.
anything for a day. So maybe those were kind of the I don't know, ways that I dealt with it. It wasn't really healthy. I gotta admit, it wasn't
Yeah.
really healthy, but it was the only way I knew to keep going, was just to keep going and just not think about it, not be kind of woe is me, this is too
Right.
hard, I never it's like I never get a day off kind of thing. It's just like I'm in it, I love it. I'm going to keep going because I had goals. I had things that I wanted to accomplish, and
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is how I had to do it. So,
Well, and I could see how focusing on, one thing or, focusing on what you're doing right now as opposed to thinking about all those things about how
hmm
tired you are and the woe is me and I'll never get this done or whatever, because that tends to just kind of overwhelm too. So I
yeah.
could see where focusing on one thing or focusing on the goal at hand
Mm.
would just help to kind of push you through it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I was just very goal driven. I never thought about it that way at the time, but just,
Hmm.
thinking back on it, that's how I was with my day job too. I had certain things I wanted to get done and accomplish in a year. So yeah, I mean, like I say, it
Yeah.
probably wasn't the healthiest way to do it, but and I just want to put it out there too, is that I don't have kids. It was just me and my husband. At some point, his mom came to live with us, which was a joy, and we loved it. And so I didn't have a lot of demand on my time. My husband's a very self-sufficient kind of guy.
Yeah.
It was okay. It was, I don't know how to say it. It's just, it was fine for both of us that my days
Hmm.
were full. I'm not sure what
Right.
that says about our relationship, but we just passed our 20th anniversary, 30 years
I
together. So
think
I
it's just
think
fine.
it's okay. It did not damage anything. But he would be tinkering around the house or out in the yard or
Yeah.
whatever, because he was retired in the last few years there before we moved here to North Carolina. So I've been full time for the past 5 years since we've been here in North Carolina. And so I just
Yeah.
wanted to put that out there. I know that there are a lot of authors who have a lot more demands on their time than what I
Yeah.
had. And so I was able to devote those hours, early morning, evening, whatever, because of that, I
Yeah.
think.
I think it's a good point though of knowing, what works for you and for your situation. And this is the life coach in me now thinking,
Hmm.
about just what's the strategy, right? What's the strategy to help you push through recognizing what you're capable of and not capable
Hmm.
of, and just really kind of tuning into ourselves, right?
Yeah,
And knowing,
right.
like, you said, looking back on it now, the migraines,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
was probably, a result of you
Yeah.
being so
It was,
tired.
at least in part. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And, it's always interesting because when we're outside of it, we can kind of look back and go, oh, yeah, that's probably why I was getting migraines.
Yeah, the caffeine didn't help either, but
Yeah.
even now, I don't have any caffeine in my diet, and we found out that that was a trigger for me with the migraines. But once
Yeah.
I even cut all of that out, I'll still get them from time to time, and then and I have to stop and I think, okay, what's going on? Why is that
Yeah.
happening? Stress does have it affects us all. Evidently, it affects me in the way of migraines. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, knowing what the trigger is the only way to kind of
Yeah.
combat that.
Yeah, I think so.
Um,
It takes a while to figure it out though, but
yeah.
yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good.
There's a saying out there, there's treasure in your triggers. Because
Yeah,
once you can
yeah,
recognize the trigger, you can figure out what
right.
you like, for you with the migraines, it was okay,
Hmm.
caffeine, I need to cut out caffeine. Once you recognize the trigger, you can deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's
Yeah.
the hardest part is whenever you have a kind of a debilitating health issue like that, it's the not knowing
Right.
what's causing it. I Early on, I thought I had a freaking brain tumor. I really was
Yeah. Oh
worried
my
about that,
gosh. So
because
scary.
they were very severe in the early days. I didn't realize my daily trip to the coffee shop was contributing to my pain.
Well, and then you probably saved a lot of money in the end
Oh
too.
yeah, heck, I'm a millionaire now because I got rid of
You
the.
quit your coffee shop visit.
Yep, yep.
But again, like the mindfulness and taking the time to figure it out. Yeah,
Yeah,
no matter what
yeah.
it is.
And I think for me too, because I had at the day job, we employed and you've met Amy, we employed
Yeah.
a personal slash life business coach, and she really, in those days, she was the one who encouraged me to write for the first time. She was like, "What are?"
Yeah.
Because
Oh
she
my
knew,
gosh.
yeah, she knew I wasn't getting out of my job what I was looking for. I didn't even know I was
Yeah.
looking for something in my day job specifically, but she was like, "You're not getting it here. You're not getting it here. So what are three things that you would like to do?" And so I wrote down the three things, and writing was one of them. And so I owe her a huge debt of gratitude of just kind of jump starting bum to, just give it a try, quit talking about it, just give it a try. And so she's helped me along the way over that decade and a half that I worked with her on and off over the years. So I love people like you. You are amazing because you help us break through some of these things that we don't even know that we're struggling with,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just, I don't know how you guys do it.
And that's the
Amazing.
thing with life coaching. Like when people ask me about life coaching isn't about the coach giving you advice and
Hmm.
telling you what to do. The whole idea of life coaching is that the answers are inside the person. And it's just about asking the questions and digging around in there to help the client recognize that and
Yeah.
figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to shuffle through your baggage, and some of us
Yeah.
don't even know what the baggage is that we're carrying, that we started carrying since childhood, for cripe's sake.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
and then when
Yeah.
you're 40 years old and you're trying to, like, I've got baggage. I didn't know I had baggage. I thought I was a perfectly normal human being, just, odd at times. But yeah, so yeah, it's and it when you start realizing it at that late stage in life, it's like, how do you change? You've got these things that
Yeah.
you've been doing for all these years. Like, how do you change? It's not so
Right.
easy at that age. So,
But our brains are such amazing things. We
mhm,
can reprogram our brains. We can
yeah,
break those habit loops and reprogram ourselves.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fun
I know
stuff.
it worked. I'm
That's
I'm
fantastic.
much better because of it, I gotta say. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Love that.
I love you guys. I think you guys are just amazing human beings. So I'm so happy that you're
Yay.
starting this podcast because I think it's going to be very helpful for people.
I guess because I see it from the author side and the coaching side, where when you meet people and you tell them you're an author, they're like, oh, that sounds so great. Like, we just sit around all day and, play with our words. And the rest of us are like, oh my gosh, you have no
Yeah.
idea how hard it is to write a book.
You gotta
Never
have the
mind.
words to play with them.
Like, never mind writing one page. How about writing
A,
350 pages?
a word, yeah. Just a word. I'd be happy to a word
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. So and I think it's that way truly with any creative field, where you need the energy and the flow to make it happen. And if you're
Yeah.
stressed out and the creative well is empty, how do we refill that well?
Yeah.
How do we
Yeah.
get that back, that love
Hmm.
of the words? So yeah, I think it is something that writers deal with. And I love that we're in a time where it's okay to talk about it too,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
for
think the world is
sure.
much more open in that regard, with these different things that we deal with as human beings that, 10, 15 years ago was still a little bit iffy about talking
Right.
about them. So, yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah,
think it's a great
it's
time.
hard.
Yeah.
All right. So on that note, what would you say? What's like one either mindset shift or habit that has helped you the most as a writer?
Just in general, just with actually getting the words on the page, or just it doesn't matter. You're just looking
Yeah,
for
it doesn't
something
matter.
that's helped me. The thing that's foremost in my mind right now, because I believe it or not, I was just chatting about this earlier today, is that one of the things that I learned, and it was many, many years ago, whenever I was part of a romance writers chapter in the suburbs of Chicago, there is that I heard it from, some people might be familiar with her name, Susan Elizabeth Phillips. She was part of that chapter. She did a workshop for us, and she was talking about when she would get stuck in her manuscript and how she would kind of like snap out of it or
Yeah,
unstick herself. What's the right word? I don't know. I'm a writer. I
I
should
don't
know
know,
this.
but we get it.
Anyway,
We know what you mean.
but anyway, she would just take these big, yellow legal size pads, and she would just start free flowing with thoughts and writing down,
Yeah.
different things, and just it would somehow loosen something in her creative mind. And I started doing that, and I even took it another step. Whenever I start a book or when I start a chapter, I will get out. I was using a notepad, but now I use my little Remarkable tablet to do it. I will just start writing it out. And there's something about going from, my mind to the paper or the tablet. There's something about writing it out that just works for me. So that has been useful many times over for me as a
Yeah.
writer, really with every book since I learned it. So since I heard about it. So yeah, that's the thing that sticks out in my mind right now.
Yeah. I feel like it would almost take the pressure off too, right? If you're just handwriting it, it's almost like journaling
Yeah,
or where you're not sitting at the keyboard thinking,
right.
I have to get this chapter done. I have to get this chapter done. It's just, you're able to just let your thoughts go. I
Yeah.
love that.
I
Yeah, I
think that's
love
true.
that.
And you don't feel like you have to get it perfect. There's something
Yes.
about when I'm on the computer that I feel like I've got to get it perfect right out of the bat. I've never
Yeah.
been this person who can just vomit out the first draft, right? I can't do it. I can't write that shitty
Yep.
first. I've got to keep writing and working the words over and over. But there's something on the page that I'm giving myself that freedom to write crappy.
And again, it goes back to knowing your process and knowing
Yeah.
what works for you. You know that you're not the writer that can write the crappy first draft, that
Yeah.
you have to edit as you're going along.
Mm,
And again, it's recognizing that and figuring out how to work, how to make it work for you.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good
Thanks.
one for me.
Yes. All right. So, where can listeners connect with you? Where are you most often? Where can they find you?
Well, probably the best place to start with would be my website, which is just tracydevlyn.com. And I have links to my social media there. I'm on pretty much everything right now except for TikTok. I can't quite do the TikTok yet, but I'm pretty much everywhere else.
Well, I'll put all the links in the show notes so everybody
Thank
can
you.
find you.
Appreciate it.
And thank you so much for joining me on my
My pleasure.
first show
I
and sharing
know.
your
So
journey.
great. I'm so happy. Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, I think this was a topic that a lot of people can relate to. I'm so grateful that you were willing to share and talk to us about it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So,
My pleasure.
all right.
It was a lot of fun. Thank
So,
you.
listeners, be sure to check out Tracy's latest release, Endgame. You won't be sorry. It's an amazing book. Although I love all of Tracy's books because they're super smart and she's not afraid to go there, people.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you all for listening to The Right Frame of Mind. The Right Frame of Mind is a member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I will be back soon with another great interview and more tips for managing the mental challenges of a creative career. Have a great day, everybody.